The scariest thing that an artificial intelligence can do when you ask it to open the pod bay door isn't to say, "I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that." No, the scariest thing an AI might be able to do is literally anything, because it knows literally everything about you. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, a story came to my desk courtesy of Elon Musk on Twitter, X, on Monday. He called this, it's a new Windows feature, he called it a Black Mirror episode, and he's going to be definitely disabling this thing. Microsoft CEO Nadella says that Windows is just trying to help. The feature is called Recall, and it's part of the company's Copilot AI chatbot that's going to be built in to machines coming out later this month that have the new AMD fancy Snapdragon Elite chip in it, not on your existing Windows machine. But this Recall will take a screen cap of your computer every 5 seconds or as often as necessary. The chatbot will analyze the screen cap, store it on an encrypted part of your hard drive, your SSD, and then anytime you need to search for something, even if you don't remember quite what it is, the AI will be able to find it, because it's going to have endless screen caps of literally everything you did on your computer, and the AI to analyze what all that stuff is and what it means. According to Ars Technica, Copilot AI will be able to find you anything you've ever done, read, or looked at. And as you use your PC, this is from Microsoft, Recall takes those snapshots, allowing you to search for context, image, text, whatever it is, using natural language. Now, although the screen caps are encrypted, and the AI, of course, is supposed to be hack-proof and all of that good stuff, anybody with your password or your biometric logon is going to have access to all this stuff. So, Bill, is this helpful, or is this just a hell no moment?
My first thought about this was, are these screen caps admissible in court? Because that's where I'm going with it.
My concern, too. The feds unlock your computer.
Yeah. If they're doing a screen cap every 5 seconds, then needless to say, they are. Look, this number seems hard to believe, but I've heard it from a number of different places. Google has, on average, 3 million pages of data for every single one of us. 3 million. I don't think you write 300 pages of data on me, but they got 3 million pages of data on every single one of us. And so my first reaction to this is, if you really wanted to either blackmail somebody or lawfare them out of existence, it's one thing to have some text type data document that says that you clicked on such and such a website, got such and such an image. It's an entirely different story to show a jury or society or whoever you're planning on blackmailing a screen cap of whatever you may find to be compromising. Here's a picture. It didn't happen, right? I mean, here's a picture of your computer with whatever web pages you happen to have been to, and you can't convince me that this is that this is a because of convenience. How many times have we had? I wonder what I was reading back in. I wonder what I had on my web. Let me rephrase that. I wonder what I had on my desktop back in January of 2001. Boy, that's really been bothering me lately. It's ludicrous, Steve, and it is a Black Mirror episode. It is just another way to record everything that we do, because the most valuable commodity in the world today is data, So my episode this week's also on AI, but on a different spin on this. But I wish these people would just mind their own damn businesses, but clearly that's not in their DNA.
Yeah, stop helping. Oh, man. If Recall sounds like a privacy concern, it certainly does to Bill and myself. Scott, A couple of things. One is I think I mentioned it won't be coming to all Windows PCs. It has to be using the new AMD Snapdragon 10 Elite, because these chips have a built-in NPU, that's a neural processing unit, that is required for the chatbot AI to do all of this stuff locally. Apparently, it's not going to happen on Microsoft servers or anywhere else. But still, anybody who's got access to your computer has access to all of this data. But I guess what gets me is you can turn this feature off and you can restrict its use. You can tell it,
Sure you can.
well, yeah, I'm getting to that. You can tell it, don't go to my, don't track anything I do on my banking website. Don't exclude these websites, whatever it is. But the feature is, number one, these privacy features are only available or only fully available on Microsoft's own Edge browser. So if you're one of the jillions of people who uses Chrome or anything else, guess what? You're not going to get all the privacy protection. And number two, like a lot of settings, these privacy protections are kind of buried. Most users who just turn on their computer and never really think about it will have zero privacy protections from this chatbot, Scott. And I guess my issue here, Scott, maybe this bugs you too, is this idea of helping people without not just their knowledge, but without their consent of how this works and how you can switch it off, or like a lot of features, will it stay switched off after you install an update?
Well, back in the old days, we had Clippy who said, hey, it looks like you're writing a business letter. You want some help with that? And now we have Creepy who says, hey, I saw what you were looking at. Do you want me to tell your wife? It's funny. I saw an interview about this on CNBC, a clip from an interview with Joanna Stern, who is a tech reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Terrific tech reporter. She's really great. Anyway, she must have used the word creepy like 5 times in the course of this relatively brief interview. And the reporter from CNBC, I don't know if it was because, CNBC gets Microsoft sponsorship dollars, but he kept saying, like, boy, he thought that would be a really useful feature because his memory isn't what it used to be, and it would be great to be able to go back. I'm kind of with you on this, Steve. First of all, something that nobody has really mentioned is the possibility that you get a phone call or an email from somebody who says, listen, we have access to all of your Copilot recall images, and if you make a deposit in this crypto account within the next 24 hours, we won't reveal that. They don't even have to have access. So you could believe that this is not in the cloud, that it is on an encrypted part of your drive and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of people who will freak out, and they will think that they are in jeopardy if somebody calls them with that threat. As Steve said, you can exclude certain sites. It's not cloud-based, so you'd think that they're taking all the precautions. But I just think if this feature is going to exist at all, first of all, it needs to be off by default. It needs to be an easy thing to monitor yourself, so you can immediately see whether it happens or not.
Be a flashing red light there while it's on.
So it's off by default, and then what it does you should be able to opt into it on a per application or per website basis. Let's say if I'm preparing for this show and I wanted to screen cap everything I see in the New York Times while I'm preparing for the show, I should be able to proactively say, monitor my reading of the New York Times, and or monitor my reading of the New York Times today. And specify that so that when I go back later, I'll go, oh, what was that story that I read in the Times? It was about such and such. You can go back there. But even at that, you're like, do I really need that? So I think what they did was somebody came up with the idea and said, wow, that's really cool that we have the technology to do that. And they said, yeah, let's put that in our next computer, in our next operating system, without really thinking through all the details about how many ways, not only that could go wrong, that it could be abused, that it could be used to extort you, but also just that general sense, as Joanna Stern said, of creepiness, where you're like, I want to use my computer. I don't want it to use me.
That
Hey, Steve, just real quick, when Scott was saying about, wanting to know when it's on, I was just thinking, you actually should have a dead man switch,
Yeah.
that you have to hold down while
That's right.
while it's recording, and if you fall asleep, then too bad. And the other thing I thought of is that, nobody knows how this is going to go, but I can see a future that looks an awful lot like that scene from The Office where, we're going to take our computers out in the middle of a field, unplug them, take them out in the middle of a field, and just smash them to atoms with baseball bats if they keep this up.
Oh, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, this is one of those things, even if I sometimes do need that much help, I'm not sure I actually want it. That's just creepy is the right word. And Scott, thank you for the heads up on Joanna Stern, who I hadn't read today since I ran into this story, because she's my favorite tech reporter. Politically, she's whatever. But when it comes to tech stuff, she reviews things as a consumer, not as a tech geek, and that makes her reviews just endlessly useful for buyers.
Yeah.
For a slightly, I guess, crueler take on this recall feature, Trusted Reviews Chris Smith says that recall is just Microsoft's way of getting around how crap the current file search tool is for Windows PCs.
It's garbage.
And you know what? And this is what gets me, not just about Microsoft, but about so many tech firms who might have a basic flaw in their software, and instead of fixing that flaw, introduce entirely new measures of complexity to try and mask their flaw. Just fix the flaw, Microsoft. Don't turn my computer into spyware. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. For Bill and Scott, I'm Steve Green. Thanks for watching, and use Linux.
I do.